Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. President Joe Biden is really proud of the third round of stimulus checks that have just been sent out to millions of Americans since March. But the real question is when we can expect to receive a fourth stimulus check. How long will it take for Congress to approve a fourth round of stimulus payments? Well, in today's video everybody, I'll be discussing the possible timeline for the fourth stimulus checks. Thank you so much for being here, and I truly appreciate everyone's amazing support. The whole goal of this channel is to provide you with the most up-to-date and reliable stimulus check news. I want to see every member of my community receive a fourth stimulus payment, and the Social Security benefits must be raised by $200 a month. Our politicians must do a better job in helping out our seniors. And if you guys agree with me, then let's get this video to 1,000 likes. So during his address to Congress on Wednesday, this is what President Biden said. We kept our commitment, Democrats and Republicans, of sending $1,400 rescue checks to 85% of American households. We've already sent more than 160 million checks out the door. For many people, it's making all the difference in the world. Everybody, do you believe that Joe Biden did a good job of sending out a third round of stimulus checks? If you think so, then leave a comment down below saying I agree. Millions of Americans were definitely grateful for the $1,400 third stimulus checks. Many used the relief check for basic necessities like food and rent. And although some financial freedom has opened up in non-essential spending, paying down debt, and investing since January, the number one reason for stimulus spending among all income brackets is monthly bills. More than half the jobs lost last year have been recovered, but there are still nearly 9 million jobs that have not come back yet. And there are 18 million Americans still drawing some form of unemployment compensation. More than 6 in 10 Americans believe the $1,400 will not last them longer than 3 months, while 34% say the extra funds won't even last them 1 month. It is clear, everybody, that another round of stimulus checks needs to be passed. The US economy has definitely not fully recovered yet, so many Americans are still unemployed. Relief checks are one of the main sources of income for millions of Americans right now. And most importantly, we've got to help our seniors. Joe Biden must step up to the plate and keep his promise of increasing Social Security benefits. And if you guys agree with me, then let's get this video to 1,000 likes. Earlier this year, House Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and 52 of her Democratic colleagues in the House sent a letter to President Biden and Kamala Harris urging recurring monthly payments until the crisis is over. The letter was sent 2 months before Biden signed the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan into law. Now the letter wrote, "One more check is not enough. Another one-time round of checks will provide a temporary lifeline. But when that money runs out, families will once again struggle to pay for basic necessities." Everybody, I believe that lawmakers should have passed recurring monthly stimulus payments in the American Rescue Plan. The idea of monthly payments is also supported by 21 Senate Democrats who urged Biden on March 30th to implement recurring checks in a new stimulus package. The senators wrote, "The crisis is far from over, and families deserve certainty that they can put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. Families should not have to worry about whether they'll have enough money to pay for essentials in the months ahead." Everybody, I want to know what you think. Should there be a fourth round of stimulus payments? Leave a comment down below saying yes or no. The Biden administration has insisted that there is a bipartisan path forward on passing Joe Biden's new infrastructure plan. However, many Senate Democrats are thinking about another use of the fast-track budget reconciliation process to get the measure passed after the Senate parliamentarian said that Senate Democrats could use the tool for a second time. Everybody, I just hope our politicians in Congress step up to the plate and pass a fourth round of stimulus checks. Thank you so much for being here, everybody, and until next time, have a great day and stay safe.
Last night, President Biden delivered his first address to the joint session of Congress, and today marks his 100th day in office. President Biden is a likable person. Many of us remember serving with him in this chamber. But while the tone of his remarks were understated, the content was anything but. He talked at length about competing with China without mentioning that he wants to cut U.S. defense spending after inflation. Exactly what we cannot do if we want to keep pace. He talked about immigration without taking any responsibility for the border crisis that has his administration packing unaccompanied children into facilities and releasing arrivals into our country. And the president talked about unity and togetherness while reading off a multi-trillion-dollar shopping list that was neither designed nor intended to earn bipartisan buy-in. A blueprint for giving Washington even more money and even more power to micromanage American families and build the country's liberal elites want. instead of the future Americans want. Think back to the start of this administration. Remember its day one priorities. Axing a pipeline project that would have supported thousands of jobs, freezing the exploration behind America's energy independence, and re-signing the climate agreement that has gotten less emissions reduction out of China, who's inside the deal, than the U.S. achieved on our own outside the deal. The approach has remained equally radical since. Even after CDC's own experts showed months ago that schools are safe, the administration's partisan COVID bill threw money at districts without requiring prompt reopenings. As a humanitarian crisis mounts at the southern border, the president's team has offered mixed messaging and ineffectiveness. While Iran keeps ramping up nuclear rhetoric and financing terror across the Middle East, this White House keeps downplaying the Iranian terror. And they appear eager to squander sanctions leverage and just climb back into a failed deal from back in the Obama era. And again, as Russia and China fast-track military modernization, President Biden turned in a defense spending proposal that would put U.S. forces behind the curve. That was the backdrop for last night's speech. But instead of practical plans to fulfill these basic responsibilities, America heard a lengthy liberal daydream. We heard about the so-called jobs plan, packed with punitive tax hikes at exactly the time our nation needs a recovery. Ivy League experts say that it would actually leave American workers with lower wages at the end of the day. We heard about the so-called family plan, another gigantic tax and spend colossus. Instead of empowering all kinds of families with flexibility, this one would just subsidize specific paths that Democrats deem best. So Washington can call the shots from early childhood through college graduation. But wait, there was more. There was hostility toward the Second Amendment rights of American citizens. There was support for Democrats' sweeping election takeover bill that would neuter voter ID in all 50 states. Oh, and by the way, make the Federal Election Commission a partisan body. Oh, and legalize ballot harvesting, where paid political operatives can show up carrying stacks of other people's ballots. Here's the bottom line. Recall that more than a year ago, at the outset of the pandemic, a top House Democrat said this crisis provided the left a tremendous opportunity to restructure things to fit our vision. Well, last night President Biden said much the same, that his